Hello, welcome back to the Meet the Speaker studio. We're here with the next speaker, Dudley. Hello, Dudley.
How are we doing there?
Yeah, good man, how are you?
Not too bad, yeah, it's been interesting. It's been a busy few days. But yeah, really good footfall coming through here. So it shows that Care is still a vibrant area and business to be in.
Do you want to tell us who you are and what you do?
Pardon?
Do you want to tell us who you are and what you do?
So my name's Dudley Sawyer. I'm here with Care Vision, one of the leading software suppliers in health and social care. So we're Care Software, as I like to call it. So we provide software and care management records for care providers from nursing home, residential, supported living. So yeah, that's one of the things I do. I also support the sector and speak on different areas, anything from recruitment, retention, mental health, well-being, and one of my specialities is diversity and inclusion as well.
Lovely. So what have you been talking about today then?
So I was on a keynote sort of stage at the moment, and one of the things we were looking at is international recruitment. And international recruitment, for those who don't know, is probably one of the most biggest growing areas in this sector. It's so big that with the Home Office, 50% of people coming to the country came into sort of health and social care. So I think their number was about 50,000 members of staff have come into the sector over the last year from overseas.
Wow.
Yeah.
50,000?
50,000.
Wow, that's a lot.
Well, I mean, it's a lot, but if we consider the amount
Yeah, maybe it's a percentage, maybe it's not.
Percentage.
It sounds like it's one of those things. Is it a big number?
But it's a very big number.
Yeah.
Very big number. And I think one of the areas I think that I look at as well when we look about inclusion and diversity is that it's not only when they're coming into the country, the Home Office will give you a set of rules that you have to jump through, process with, but what we're finding is that once people come to the country, the simple things of making food, where to live, the pastoral care of actually keeping them there, is really important. So being homesick when someone sent you to another country and you haven't, trying to settle in is probably one of the most hardest things to do.
I've been talking to a few people about that today, about the kind of idea that overseas recruitment is a silver bullet, but ultimately if you weren't good at recruiting people before, overseas recruitment's not going to solve your problem. It's your process and the way you treat people, and if you can't keep hold of team members that live in the UK, it's infinitely more complicated to help someone who comes from overseas, right? Because you've got all those other bits to do.
Yeah, no, I think and part of my talk about wasn't just about international recruitment, it's also about getting younger people into the sector. So I think there is a big issue, not just about just recruitment, but retention as well. So we're looking at how to keep people in here. I'm sure you've heard people say, how do we make social care sexy, but how do we make it attractive? I think it's been open that there are lots of different, so we're talking about just the younger generation. It's actually showcasing not just being a care worker, but the range of different types of roles you can have in there. There's technology, you can work in admin, HR, you can work at the DH, you can work, there's so much more available, and I think it can be exciting. Social media in itself is an area that our sector hasn't really developed and touched upon, so actually that as well. So I think thinking about things like that is really key, and I think it's on us as a sector to help develop that, the same way it's on us as a sector when someone's coming in from another country to help them settle in. So I think it's important.
Yeah, and I think what we often underestimate is the idea that working in social care is a poorly paid job across the board, whereas actually I know people in their late 20s, early 30s who are running care homes which are £2 million businesses and getting paid significant salaries, 60, 70, 80,000 pounds a year to look after those homes. They've got lots of responsibility, they're in a position of authority and importance, and actually that is a route that is available for people coming into the sector.
I think you've touched that's really an important point. I think I was at a round table meeting with hospitality and sort of health and social care, and what they were trying to say was a lot of people, maybe in some holidays, students will go and work in pubs or maybe other areas as well, but actually you can work in for example, care home or a care facility and then an organisation, and you can earn similar money. You can probably have meals, and still come home and still enjoy a good level of life. So I think it still can be attractive, and it's a vocation, it's a skill set which you can take and use forever.
Absolutely. So have you got a piece of advice or a tip, a hint you can give people in the sector just to help them with their daily lives?
So, I mean, it's quite interesting just from the international people coming from abroad, overseas workforce. One of the biggest issues and concerns was making tea. It was quite funny how they struggle how to make tea. There's been various things of the best way of making tea. So I would say probably a good piece of advice, especially for anyone bringing those from abroad, is make sure in part of your sort of onboarding and pastoral care, get them to make sure they know how to make a good cup of tea.
Okay.
Yeah. And also as well, make sure even though people love sandwiches, that meat doesn't have to be hot. And one of the stories was that some workers would usually put sandwiches in a microwave because they believe anything with meat in it has to be hot. So you can have cold sandwiches. So those two things will get you a lot further along.
Great advice. And then one final question for you. Orange juice, with bits, without bits?
I'm afraid to say anyone has got to have bits in their orange juice. That sweetness has to be maintained, and being it with the bits is a genuine orange juice. I can't trust anything without the pulp, sorry. It's just not good enough for me.
It's the correct answer, Dudley. It's the correct answer. Thank you very much for coming in to see us today.
No problem.
Cheers.
No
Enjoy
problem.
the rest of your day.